Hello everyone, this is Jenny with craftingwithjenny.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is the project that we're going to be making today, this lovely Christmas card. And as you can see, I did a card with a matching envelope. But here's a closer up of the card and the inside as well. Okay. So, the stamps that we're using today are the Wonderland and Gorgeous Grunge. We're going to use this splatter stamp from Gorgeous Grunge. Okay. Now, to get started, we're going to need a card base in chocolate chip. We're going to need 2 standard panels and a 2x2 piece of vellum. Now all of the dimensions will be on my blog, so I will include those later. Okay, so we are also going to need a couple different inks. The first one is Sahara Sand. Then there's Tip Top Taupe, which is one of the in colors this year. Love, love, love this color. We're also going to use Chocolate Chip. We're going to use the Whisper White Craft Ink and also your Versamark. Okay, let me set these aside. And I'm actually going to leave the Tip Top Taupe out because that is the color that we're going to start with today. Alright, so as we go, we're going to be stamping the front, the inside, and the envelope, just to make things a little bit easier. So let me go ahead and open my Tip Top Taupe. Alright, and I'm actually going to turn my paper to the side because I'm actually going to be stamping off of the paper. And I kind of want to, it helps me line up those images a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up this stamp really well. Hopefully I'm not bouncing the camera too much. Alright, so we're going to stamp one of those here. And you're going to go straight down and then straight up. Perfect. Let's go in and do one more. Okay, and let's go right here, and again, straight down, straight up. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to bring in the inside panel. I'm only going to ink up this stamp probably about halfway because we're not going to stamp much of it. Just a little. Okay. And there we go. Straight down, straight up. Perfect. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and bring in our envelope as well. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the back flap. Well, this is a little tip for you. I don't know if you have the same problem that I do, but I just get so busy stamping sometimes that I don't really look at my envelope when I stamp it, and I often stamp upside down. So I've kind of gotten in the habit to opening the flap so that I know better where my stamps are supposed to be. Okay, I'm going to push this down. Perfect. Okay, so I am going to set aside the envelope and the inside panel. We're going to go ahead and bring the outside panel back in. I'm going to close up this Tip Top Taupe because we're not going to be needing it anymore. And then I'm going to bring in this Sahara Sand. Alright, let me go ahead and give my stamp a clean, which I'm going to do off camera. so I'm not bouncing it all over the place. Alright, and I'm going to stamp this off a little bit. I think it's about time to clean off my scrubber because I've been using a lot of red ink, and you know how that gunks it up pretty good. Okay, so now let's go with our Sahara sand, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to ink it up and stamp it 3 different times. Now the placement of these isn't really super important. You could just stamp and go. I try to be kind of consistent with what I'm doing when I'm making a card, just because I normally make multiples at a time and sell them at craft fairs. So I want to be sure that if they want more than one card, that they're pretty similar. Not exact, but pretty similar. Okay, so our next one is going to be over here off the side. And you want to vary how high, how tall you make the trees. It makes it a little bit more interesting, I think. I just love, love, love this stamp. It's just so, so stunning. Okay, and let's do this one, and I'm going to bring it over just a little bit and go ahead and stamp that down. Perfect. Look at already. What a gorgeous forest. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Let's bring in our inside piece. Ink up my stamp one more time. And offset it a little bit and stamp it down. Perfect. All right, and then the envelope as well. Perfect, perfect. Okay, now we're done with the envelope and the inside piece, so I'm just going to go ahead and set them aside and get them out of our way. Let me go ahead and close up this ink. Now, I like to do my sentiment next, just because it shows me better where I need to place it. For that, we're going to use chocolate chip. So I'm going to get that out here. And I don't know about you, but I always stamp my sentiments crooked. It doesn't really matter. Every time I try to just eyeball it, it just always crooked. So I use the best tool, one of the best tools I have in my toolbox, and that's my Stamp-A-Majig. Now, as you can see, I don't really clean it all that often, which is okay. It still works, no big deal. But it just helps me be a little bit more precise and make sure that sentiment's as straight as I can possibly make it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and set that up. Oop, doesn't look like I lined it up the way I was supposed to. Okay, so I'm going to get that sheet out of the way. I'm going to bring in my Silent Night stamp. I'm going to ink it up really good. And we're going to line it up with my Stamp-A-Majig, and then I'm just going to go straight down. Pull my Stamp-A-Majig out of the way and make sure I press evenly. Perfect. Okay, now that's all we're going to use the chocolate chip ink for, so I'm going to go ahead and put it away. Alright, and I'm going to give this a little bit of time to dry. Just because the next step is embossing, and I want to be sure that it's dry so that when I bring in my embossing buddy, that it doesn't smear my ink. Okay, so next we're going to go with the Craft Whisper White ink. Now, you don't have to use this ink. You can use the Versamark ink, but I found that my trees were a lot crisper and a lot whiter, which was the look I was going for. So I went ahead and used this Whisper White craft ink and layered a layer of white embossing powder over it. So that's what we're going to do today. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my embossing buddy and make sure there's no fingerprints where I want that those trees to be. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stamp because I think I forgot to do that last time, thinking I was done, but not just yet. All right. Let's stamp it off again. All right. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing the camera again. Okay. Now we're going to use our craft ink. Just tap, tap, tap on your stamp pad. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it one more time. And I'm kind of going to off-center it a little bit. I want those trees to poke out and really give the illusion of a forest. So there's one. You can kind of see it. It's kind of opaque right now. And then I'm going to ink it up one more time. We're only going to do this twice though. And I got a good coverage, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do it one more time. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to set that stamp aside. I'm going to close up our Whisper White craft ink because every time I leave this one open, I always get a finger in it or two. All right. And now I'm going to bring in my Whisper White or my white embossing powder. And I have it just in this tub, this Ziploc tub. No big deal. I find it easier because otherwise I get this stuff all over. And if it's in a little container, I find that I more often spill it than not. Kind of clumsy, so the best I could do to keep from getting embossing powder all over my floor. Alright, I just used the spoon to kind of get rid of some of that excess powder. Perfect. Okay, we'll set that aside. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss this, but I'm going to let my heat gun heat up a little bit before I bring it to the paper, and that'll help decrease the amount of warping that this paper is going to do. So, excuse the noise. Okay, and here we go. Okay, and make sure you got all that powder melted. And already you can see some of the colors through the white, which I think is so pretty. Okay, I'm going to let this cool down a little bit. And then I'm going to hit it with my heat embossing, or my embossing buddy again. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the Gorgeous Grunge splatter with the Versamark ink and add some gold embossing powder over it. Now you don't have to do this step this way. You can also use some of the Stampin' Up! Gold glitter and a little bit of Tombow liquid glue and go ahead and thin it out, flick it over the surface of the card, and then pour some of that glitter over, and you'll get the same effect. I just happened to run out of glitter, so I went ahead and did it this way. Okay, so now that it's cooled down just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and run this over again. Now again, you don't have to be super precise where you place these splatters, but I didn't want any of the splatters to go over my sentiment, so I'm going to be a little bit strategic in how I'm placing mine. So I'm going to turn it a little bit so it's a little bit easier for me to see. I'm going to go just right under that sentiment, and then go ahead and make sure that I get some more random splatters. Okay, I'm going to go up a little bit on this side, and then I'm going to keep inking it up until I feel like I got some pretty good coverage. Okay, let's check that. So I'm going to bring in my gold embossing powder and my spoon. Okay. And let's see. Go ahead. All right. One more time and make sure I got it everywhere that I wanted. Now I think I'm going to want a few more splatters up here, so I'm just going to ink my thing up again one more time, and then put a couple more dots, and hopefully that'll be perfect. Alright, actually it is perfect. Okay, so let's get that embossing powder out of the way. Alright, and let's warm up our heat tool one more time and melt this powder. Okay, there you go. Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, I'm so in love with embossing. I just love it. Oh, there's a couple I missed. Let's do that one more time. Okay, now we're really done. I just love, love, love embossing, and I just love anything with shine, so really being able to put gold or silver shiny stuff all over a card is just right up my alley. Okay, I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue these down. I'm going to take your snail, and we'll put the outside on first. Okay. All right. Now you make sure you press that down because it's going to warp a little bit. So, all right. So let's go ahead and do our inner panel while we're at it. Okay, and here we go. Now you can go ahead and add a sentiment to the inside, but I kind of like to leave the sentiments off in the inside so that it can be more personalized for the person who gets it. So there we go. Okay, so our next step is we're going to need to bring this vellum in. And what you want to do is kind of go ahead and tear it corner to corner. Now I apologize if you hear some funny noises in the background. I have some dogs under my feet because you know it wouldn't be crafting unless they were under your feet trying to get attention, right? Okay, so you're just gonna kind of just do a jagged edge. Now, gluing down vellum can be tricky, but it doesn't have to be. I found that if you use this multimedia matte glue by Ranger, which you can get at any Joann's, Michael's, whatever craft store, you can get it online. You can't actually see it if you use it pretty sparingly. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Let's first get this glue working. And then what you want to do is kind of, if I can get it working, you're going to want to kind of just use a little up here in the corners, if you see that. Kind of probably put a little bit too much on here, but that's all right. And then you're just going to fix it to the corner here. Just right up there in the corner. Now this glue, the one thing I like about it too is if you use too much of it, you won't be able to see. It dries flat, so it's not shiny like the Tombow glue does, or the liquid glue. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and bring in our snowflake here, which I forgot to grab, of course. Okay, so this snowflake right here. Now you can go ahead and use the same glue that you have out, or the Tombow glue will work as well. I just kind of do a little bit on the back here, because I find if you tack it down with glue dots, and if you're going to mail it, they often pop off. So you want to use something that's just a little bit more robust as far as glue goes. So I'm going to go ahead and hold that down and make sure that it gets a good seal. I'm going to put a little bit more under here because I can see that it's lifting up just a little. Okay. All right. Now the last part, what I wanted to do is I wanted to put a bow on here. And so I'm going to use the gold trim ribbon is what I think it's called. I love, 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 love this stuff. It is actually available in gold and silver, and I really hope that they carry it over to the spring catalog and that it makes it into the holiday catalog next year, because it's just so stunning. I don't want to have to buy a bunch of it just in case it goes on, they go ahead and retire it. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a little bow here. Oops, let's try that again. So you just make a simple bow and then kind of fuss with it until you kind of get it where you want. And then I go ahead and tighten it up. And then I bring my scissors in and go ahead and cut it. Okay. Now to get this ribbon where I want it, I'm going to use some crystal effects. I like that I can fill up my the center of this snowflake, but also I can get the bow placed right where I want it. So, okay, and I just did a little dollop there, and I am going to get this put down right in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to use my scissors to kind of hold that down a little bit until it dries enough to stick. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to dry, so you don't really want to go ahead and put it in an envelope right away. Just let it dry for about 20 minutes or so. It's probably going to dry much faster than that, and you won't need to wait that long, but just to be on the safe side, and that crystal effects will dry clear so you won't be able to see it. Now all of the products that I used today are available in my online store, and that's going to be at craftingwithjenny.com. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description below. Now, if you need a catalog or would like a catalog, or you have any questions about the products that I used today, please go ahead and contact me. You'll want to go to the craftingwithjenny.com website, and you'll see a link to contact me, and go ahead and send me an email. I'd love to see your projects. But make sure that you also subscribe to my blog. I have a bunch of other Christmas stuff coming out that you're just going to love. And then if you want to go ahead and get any of these products today, you'll also go to craftingwithjenny.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a Shop Now flower. Go ahead and click on that and go ahead and purchase these products today. They're just... Isn't that just stunning? And let me bring that envelope back in here. All right, so that's the project for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your business. Take care. Bye-bye.